Live from Claris Engage, it's FM Training TV. And now your host, Richard Carlton.
Hi everyone, Richard Carlton, and welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker training, FM Training TV. We're at Claris Engage 2025. I am here today with Eric Luce from Proof+Geist, and you're a speaker here at the Claris, really developer conference. It's called Claris Engage.
Yeah.
So what is your topic that you're presenting on?
Yeah, so my topic is building a next level web app with FileMaker.
What is a next level web app?
It's really just a pun because I'm going to show you how to use Next.js, which is a framework for building a full stack app, meaning it'll do both the front end and the back end code, but it'll connect to FileMaker as your database.
So the framework is called what again? It's called
Next.js.
Next.js.
Yep. It's a React framework. So
okay, that I've heard about. Okay.
And it's known as like the React framework for production. So React is a JavaScript framework, and you can use it to build websites, but Next.js takes it to the next level and says, oh, I can do front end code and back end code. I can marry them all together, and it helps you with things like page routing, change the URL bar. It can do caching for you. It does a whole bunch of stuff on top of it. And so there's just major companies that use Next.js. It's like the top tier framework for building web apps.
Okay, so you said the front end for code and then the back end code, but we're talking about using FileMaker as the back end, right?
Well, back-end database, but you're still going to have your code running like on a node server or maybe Lambda functions. That's what's going to connect your database. But those functions kind of spin up as users connect to your site to like serve the web code to you. And you can still run some of that code that's in a Next.js backend. But the database has to be persisted somewhere, right? Because otherwise those functions, those Lambda functions are ephemeral, right? They'll spin down, and that makes it really cheap to host, right? Because if you don't have a lot of people using your site, you don't have to pay for a web server and a FileMaker server. These Lambda functions are really cheap. And so they can run your whole website. That's basically what Next.js helps you do.
So now I'm starting to understand what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So for those of you wondering about this, there's going to be Claris will, I think, put up for sale the contents of all these sessions. However, I'm going to talk to some people at Proof+Geist and see if they want to have you come back on the show, because we're going to spend some time right now. I guarantee for all of you who want to see more of this, you need to upvote and let me know at support@rcconsulting.com if you think this is a good topic and you would like to learn more. I got a feeling they're going to be requesting you to come back
do a deep
and
dive.
do a deep dive. So
yeah.
So why don't you give us like the 20-minute dive right now? Can we do that?
Sure. Yeah. What do you want? Do you want me to
why don't you show the end product kind of working loosely, and then show maybe the back end, then dive into everything in between if you want to do that.
Yeah. So what I've built is a tool that helps you build a new project from scratch connected to FileMaker. So I don't know. So I can do that right now. It takes like 10 minutes, if that.
Okay,
just to spin up a brand new site from scratch.
Okay, let's go ahead and share.
Yep. Yeah. So I've got here. This is just a terminal window. I've already got a few things pre-installed on my system, like that web developers would need, things like Node.js and all that. And I've got a package manager that helps me with JavaScript stuff, but that's all I need so far. So I'm just going to run the command pream create ProofKit is the title of this thing. And I just updated a new version here. You're seeing maybe a beta version here. Hopefully this all works. But we'll make a new project. I'm just going to give it a name, and I'm just call this RCC.
Okay.
And it's going to ask me, do I want to build a web app for browsers, or do I want to build maybe a web viewer app? This is because this whole tool is actually built for either case. But we'll do browsers because that's what we were just talking about. And now it's going to ask me if I want to connect my FileMaker database to it. So I'll just hit enter, say yes, I do. And now it's going to ask for my FileMaker server. Now I have a FileMaker server just ready here. This is just a dev server that I'm playing with. And it does have AutoFMS installed on it, which is probably another tool that you may or may not be familiar with, but it's a free tool that you add on your FileMaker server to expose additional functionality. I was already logged into it, so it already just jumped me to this, hey, you logged in, just launched a browser so I could log in. And now that I'm logged in, I can see all the files on that server. So I can click back in here and I can say, what file do I want to connect to?
Okay.
Right? And I'm going to pick this Foxtail file because that's my demo file that I've got ready. You need credentials to connect to that file. Auto uses data API keys, which are like a replacement for credentials. I already had one of these set up, so it's offering me to use it, or I could create a new one just by entering username and password, either way. So I'll just use that one. Now I need to pick the layout that I want to load my data from, and it's recognized all my layouts because those credentials were valid. So I'm going to pick, say, a customer's layout. I'm going to try a friendly name just for my code. And now it's going to spin some things and spin up my project and connect to that layout and all these things. This will take just a second. Depends on our internet connection here, I guess. And then it's create a new Git repo for me to help me track my changes as I make stuff. And now we're set. So it tells me what I got to do next, which is now that I've created the project, I'm going to open it. So I have to either go to the project directory. If I just tap open here, just so you can see like in Finder, all it's done, if I show this on the screen, it's just created a folder for me, right, with a ton of files in it. And I just need to open that folder in my code editor.
So we hit open, we saw the.
So I just created a folder.
Directory.
Now I'm gonna open that folder in my code editor.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got a command code RCC, and that will launch my code editor.
What are you using for editing your code?
This is Cursor, which is very much like VS Code. You could also use like VS Code, but Cursor has some AI tools built in, which are also I can show you some of that too, because that's really, I mean, if I could pause for a second to tell you, like part of the reason why we want to build apps with code like this is because the AI for writing web code has gotten insanely good in the last several months. I mean, and even a year ago when I started this project, it didn't have as much AI stuff, but like now, like that's another just huge reason that this is so worth it nowadays. Because even if you don't know how to code, the AI can do so much for you, and I can show you a demo of that too. So anyway, but now that I'm in the code editor, I have another terminal instance, and this just puts me inside of the folder, so I can run my commands. So one of the things I need to do is the dev server, which then runs my whole code. This is standard Next.js stuff, and so it's using this server. I can just click right on here, and I can launch my web app. Right, this is my web app. It's a web page. I can see some stuff here. This is the page. I can edit this code. If we want, do you want to see that, or do you want to go straight to the FileMaker side of stuff?
Well, is it pulling customer information yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. I mean, it's like connected, but we're not showing any data yet. So I can jump to that if you want. But yeah, but this is a web app. It's a one-page web app right now. It's just a little demo page that says, yes, you've got a web app running. But let's connect to customer data, like you were saying. So okay, so if I cancel that command because it was just an ongoing server, and I run this time, I'm just going to run ProofKit, which is going to give me all the things I can do. And so it's going to say, what do you want to do to this project? I can add components. I can do a bunch of stuff. So we'll add a new page. And I'm going to say, this is my customers page, because this is that layout we connected to. And I want to show you this infinite table, because in case you didn't know, that layout I connected to, it actually has 29,000 records in it. And this web app's going to handle that no problem.
Really?
Yeah. So it added that page. So it says to preview it, I got to start my dev server again. So let's launch the dev server, go back to Safari, just refresh. And I've got a new page in the corner here. I go to /customers. There's the data. I can and let me refresh, because this is a live file. This is not on my machine. This is a hosted over the internet FileMaker server.
Okay.
Refresh. Done.
Okay, where is this server at? We're in Austin, Texas. Where's this server? Is it Amazon somewhere?
No, it's not Amazon. It's somewhere in the US, I'll say. I don't remember exactly where.
But not necessarily. It's not like on your laptop.
It's in a data center. Yeah, it's in a data center in the US. Yeah. And this is infinite scrolling. I mean, the trick here is I'm actually not loading 29,000 records. I'm loading 50 of them. You can see in the corner.
Yeah, it might be covered over here a little bit. It might be hard to see. Yeah, but yeah, it says it's
fetched 50. But as I scroll, what you'll see is I can keep scrolling. And then I get to the bottom and it'll just keep going, right? But this table, these are built like this is just a React component that's got a bunch of stuff, and I can just filter right in here, and there's 25 records, and that actually did a find on my FileMaker database too. Like so, it's a full. I didn't just fetch, not just the ones I fetched. It's like a full reactive thing here. And if I'm going to go back to the top here, let me open up that file just so we can kind of see it side by side.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I've got so many files open right now. Okay, so here's like that first record here. I've got Merrill Phillip, right?
Okay.
Phillip. I can even double click in here, put some numbers, and
wow, it just refreshed. I saw that.
It already refreshed the stuff.
So this web page. So it's one of those things, I don't know if it's in your presentation or not, but kind of a graphical representation of all the moving parts and pieces here. So we have a browser on one side, we got FileMaker server on the other side with our file. Can we walk through what's in between that? So it's what's between the web page. The web browser is a web server.
Yep.
And then off of that is, you said,
the web server is connecting via Auto. And Auto has just a data API proxy. So here, this is just using the basic FileMaker data API
to
DAPI, to get to this layout and read and write this data using that key, the API key that I chose earlier, right? Which API keys are just a stand-in for your credentials. So like, as long as you have those credentials that have access to make these changes, then it's going to work, right? So
we talked about this before we started the show. What is the framework? What is the compelling part of this? Because way back when you were born and I was your age, I was 20, I was doing this with AppleScript and ROFM and some really old technology. That was even before, Claris did Lasso, and that was the CDML and all that nonsense, if you ever remember that stuff. So the question is, what is the modern framework here, and why does that matter? Kind of pitch me on the stack here.
Yeah, well, Next.js as a framework is it's such a widely used framework used by some of the biggest companies. So like, it's really a great way to build stuff. And the web world in general, I would say, like the modern web tooling and web components and web interactivity and the way that you can build websites in our modern world to be really fast, really reactive, easy to use. Those components are just so widely available. And because there's so much code out there and the AI models know how to write this kind of code, AI can help you do it. Can I show you some of the AI stuff?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So I'm going to put this back because this bothers me to have like random data in here. But anyway, okay. So let's say common thing in FileMaker is that field names change. And if you've ever built a web app before,
yes, very sensitive.
That's a sensitive thing, right? So I'm sure that you would never do this, right? But maybe let's say your client comes in here, right? Let's say that, your client, not you, of course, but your client maybe comes in here and renames a field, right? And FileMaker handles that just fine, obviously no problem. But back on our web app side, if I refresh this page, we have a problem. Oh, yeah. Suddenly I got no data loading. Yeah, that's a bit of a problem. And I can tell you why, but let's say your client did that, right? And we all know why. The field name changed, obviously. I just showed that. I've even got an error here, but let's pretend I didn't see that. And I just come right into here to my AI and I say, my data isn't loading in my table. And we'll just watch and we'll see if it can even just figure out why it's not loading. And maybe you'll even fix it. It's doing its thinking. But the point I want to show here, if you saw what I typed in, I didn't have to know the field name changed, right? Because I didn't change the field name, my client did. Suddenly it's not what was working yesterday. What happened, right? Right. So it's just gonna go through. It's gonna see, and you can see it's already detected. Oh, I noticed this field is wrong. Let me fix it. And in just a second here, I think I may have to refresh the page, but it's because it's like generating some stuff. It's even gonna like recognize that the headers are spelled a little weird, but it suggested, hey, let me change this code for you.
Oh, so you can accept or reject. Wow.
Yeah, and this is like a cursor feature, so there's other versions of doing this, right? And if I just refresh the page, there's our data back. No problem.
Wow. That's as light years better than because back in my day, we had to hunt through every little dot and comma and hidden characters that sometimes you can't find.
Yeah, sure.
And if you have one in there, the whole page, it doesn't just not load the one field. It fails to load anything. It's like a one.
Well, and that's actually intentional. So the kind of, you mentioned about the tech stack that we have between here. So also kind of embedded into this code here is we have a package that we've used for many years now called the Proof+Geist FMTV adapter. It's for JavaScript, and it has a type generation tool that actually reads the layout metadata from your FileMaker file to generate TypeScript, so that you get autocomplete in your code editor here. So if I'm going to accept that change, but if I were to go in here, I get autocomplete this address, city, first name. This is from my FileMaker file.
Yeah.
Right. And so like you don't have to think about typing it right, because with TypeScript types, you get autocomplete like this.
So it's called TypeScript?
TypeScript. It's a subset of JavaScript. And like if you type a name wrong, I get a little squiggly saying, hey, you misspelled that field, right? So that stuff is really, really helpful in trying to like debug issues. And obviously the AI can pick up on stuff like that.
This is for everyone, this is a very cool show. And
Yeah.
and you're going to be in high demand. I don't know what Ernest is going to do, but yes,
Yeah.
I can tell you right now that the audience is frothing and is going to want more of this, right? Almost certainly. David, you're interested. You're not even a code guy. He's one of our video guys over there is going, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, but if I could just finish real quick. So
Sure.
what it was saying was that as that field name changed, we're actually running a validation on the data we get back from FileMaker. So if the data doesn't match the types that you have, it won't load. It'll just fail early and say, I don't know what's wrong, but it doesn't match what I expected. So that's why no data loaded.
Okay.
Right. And it gave you the error. And I don't know if I can see it yet. If I probably scroll back in my stuff, it kind of shows you here. If you read this, it's maybe a little hard to read, but you can see it saying, hey, I expected a string and I received undefined when I was looking for name first. So what it's telling you is this field is not coming back from FileMaker. So you can kind of like figure that out. But all I had to do was rerun the typegen command and it found the new thing. Now I got a squiggly in my code.
Yep.
Anyway, so that was the long and short of it, I guess.
Wow, this is really neat. And so this is basically the latest and greatest incarnation of building a web app, browser or something else.
Yeah, or web viewers too.
Web viewers.
Because we can build, I think I even have in this demo file a web viewer component. So this is, I showed at the beginning, you could have built either a web viewer app or a web browser app. Let me just make sure this is all turned off. It's probably not going to work because I changed that field name. But you can do those kind of same behaviors, right, that you see on web, but you can still embed them into FileMaker apps if you want to. Like, it just depends, and then they can work offline, right?
Yeah.
Because they're a FileMaker file.
Oh yeah, if they're really fully embedded, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
wow.
Basically this tool, if I could summarize it, like why we built ProofKit, we like to think of it as it is the opinionated way. It's how Proof would build a web app. If you want to build it like with all these modern tools and you don't know anything else and you're too overwhelmed by all these options out there, because if you want to learn web dev, you can. Like there's tons of tools out there and resources, but a lot of FileMaker devs are so overwhelmed by it, right? Because there's just so much, or they don't know where to start.
We're busy. We're busy.
You don't know what to do. But how fast did I spin up that app, right? So you could try this. You could learn from it. AI can help you. That's kind of the whole
wow
thing.
It's a little bit overwhelming, right? Because I haven't done this a very long time, and I can see the similarities to what we used to do.
Mm-hmm.
But this is clearly the latest, greatest modern tech. So this is pretty awesome. Well, so you got the light. So what is the name of your session going to be called, or that you're doing?
I think it's called. Let me check my building next level web apps.
Okay.
With Claris FileMaker or something like that.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, I'm going to see if we can get them back on. And for those of you who see this and you're interested in more of this, I need you to upvote it, but better, just send me an email to support at RC Consulting and say, upvote. Do we want more of this? This is really great stuff. And I think, this could easily turn into several days of live stream, like several hours, real easy, deep dive, right?
Sure.
If you were going to do a deep dive and you were going to really explain to people, how long would it take you? A couple, 2-3 hours, probably pretty easy.
Yeah, probably. It depends on how deep we want to get into the code and stuff. But, obviously in my session, I only have like an hour, right? Top max.
No, exactly. But on a live stream,
oh, sure,
I get to set the schedule.
Yeah.
So if the content's good, the content's good, we bring people back and say, you can come back as often as you want, because that's what we want. We want educating the customers, the FileMaker community, educating them.
And you need to know what's out there. I mean, like these kinds of tools and the way that table that you could just scroll and scroll and scroll, like those kinds of things are possible in the web world. And we can also build them into our FileMaker apps or web, depending on what, but you don't have to leave FileMaker. There's no like that FileMaker server can handle that,
Yeah, it handled that pretty well. That was the whole benefit of having them rewrite that whole DAPI back in the day, and getting rid of the performance issues that we had that pre-existed back before FileMaker 18, 19, somewhere in there. They rewrote that. There used to be bottlenecks, and now it's pretty quick. So that's very exciting. Well, I want to thank Eric once again for coming in. And if you want to see more of Eric and the latest, greatest in terms of frameworks and building web-facing front ends, please shoot us an email to support. If you have questions, you want to talk to Eric directly or someone at ProofGeist, what are they going to reach out to ProofGeist?
I think it's maybe hello@proofgeist.com.
Hello@proofgeist.com.
I'd have to look that. Yeah, that's.
Try hello. See if that works.
Or proofkit.dev is where we want to go. If you want to try it yourself,
And download it from there.
it's available. All the instructions, a full getting started guide, everything you need, proofkit.dev.
Awesome. All right, everyone, that's it for today. We'll catch you in the next stream.
Bye,